You're changing and you know it. Social situations that used to excite you now feel like a waste of time. People you once valued now drain your energy. The life everyone told you to want suddenly feels empty. You're not broken, you're waking up to who you actually are. Look, this transformation doesn't happen overnight. I've been there. You don't just wake up one day as a Sigma male, you evolve into it. And right now, you're probably in the middle of that evolution without fully understanding what's happening to you. Today, I'm walking you through 10 clear signs that you're evolving into a Sigma male. Not theories or psychology textbook definitions, actual changes you're experiencing right now that prove something fundamental is shifting inside you. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's happening to you and why it's the best thing that could happen. Sign 1. Social events drain you instead of energizing you. Let me guess. Parties used to be fun. Networking events used to feel important. Group hangouts used to be something you looked forward to. Now, you'd rather do literally anything else. Here's what's actually going on. You're not becoming antisocial. You're just done pretending that surface-level conversations with people you barely care about is a good use of your Friday night. Your brain is finally catching up to what your gut has been telling you for years. Most social events are just performance theaters where nobody's being real. You'll start declining invitations without feeling guilty. When plans get cancelled, you'll feel relieved instead of disappointed. You'd genuinely rather spend the evening working on something that matters to you than making small talk with people who won't remember your name tomorrow. And here's the thing. This isn't depression or social anxiety. This is your brain upgrading from quantity to quality. You're developing standards for who deserves your time and energy. Most people never make this leap. They keep showing up to meaningless social events because they're terrified of being alone or missing out. But you're starting to realize that being alone, doing something meaningful, beats being surrounded by people who add nothing to your life. Sign 2. Other people's opinions barely register anymore. Remember when criticism used to sting? When someone's disapproval could ruin your whole day? When you needed people to understand and approve of your choices? That's fading, isn't it? Someone calls you selfish now, and you just shrug. Your family disapproves of your decisions, and it doesn't change your direction even slightly. Friends criticize your priorities, and you feel absolutely nothing. This is huge. You're shifting from external validation to internal validation. You're no longer building your self-worth on what other people think. You're building it on what you know to be true about yourself. Most men never make this shift. They spend their entire lives seeking approval, changing themselves to fit other people's expectations, living for external validation. They're puppets dancing on strings they don't even see. But not you. You're cutting those strings one by one. And every time someone's opinion fails to affect you, that's another string cut. You're becoming ungovernable, and that's exactly where the power is. Sign 3. Your tolerance for toxic people has dropped to 0. You used to tolerate so much nonsense, didn't you? Energy vampires, drama creators, boundary pushers, you dealt with them because you thought you had to. Family, old friends, work relationships. You maintained them even when they drained you. Not anymore. You're cutting people off now without hesitation, without guilt, without explanation. Someone crosses a boundary? Gone. Someone brings consistent negativity? Removed. Someone demands your energy without reciprocating? Blocked. This isn't you being mean or cold. This is you finally understanding that protecting your peace is non-negotiable. Every toxic person you tolerate is a piece of yourself you're sacrificing, and you're done with that sacrifice. You're developing what I call immediate toxicity detection. You can spot an energy vampire within the first conversation now. And instead of thinking, maybe I can help them, or maybe they'll change, you're thinking absolutely not, and creating distance immediately. Look, tolerating toxic people doesn't make you nice. It makes you complicit in your own destruction. You're evolving past that delusion. Your boundaries are becoming walls, and walls don't apologize for keeping poison out. Sign 4. You're building systems instead of just setting goals. This is where things get interesting. You're not just chasing individual goals anymore. You're building systems that generate results automatically. Instead of working more hours, you're thinking about passive income streams. Instead of deciding what to do every morning, you've built routines that make decisions for you. Instead of grinding harder, you're working smarter by creating frameworks that multiply your effectiveness. This is a massive cognitive shift. Most people are still thinking linearly. Work harder, achieve goal, celebrate, find next goal, repeat. But you're thinking exponentially. Build system once, generate results forever. You're not trying to be successful. You're trying to make success inevitable through intelligent design. That's an entirely different game, and most people don't even know that game exists. This is you becoming a force multiplier instead of just a hard worker. You're understanding that sustainable success comes from architecture, not effort. You're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Sign 5. Solitude isn't loneliness anymore. It's your preferred state. Being alone used to feel like something to endure between social interactions. Now, it's your baseline. It's where you're most comfortable, most productive, most yourself. You're not avoiding people because you're scared. You're choosing solitude because it's genuinely better than mediocre company. You've discovered that being alone isn't absence of others. It's presence of yourself. You actively look forward to time alone now. You protect it fiercely. You've created rituals around it, morning routines, evening walks, weekend projects. Your alone time has become sacred, and you'd rather cancel plans than compromise it. This is major. Most people are terrified of being alone with their own thoughts. They need constant distraction, constant company, constant noise. They use other people as a buffer between themselves and themselves. But you're done running from yourself. You're actually enjoying your own company. You've built a relationship with yourself that's more satisfying than most of your relationships with others. And once you cross that threshold, you become almost impossible to manipulate through loneliness or social pressure. Sign 6. You've stopped competing and started creating. You don't care about beating other people anymore. Someone else gets promoted? Good for them. Someone else makes more money? Cool. Someone else achieves something impressive? Genuinely happy for them. You're not competing because you're not playing the same game anymore. You're not trying to be better than others. You're trying to build something only you can build. This is the shift from comparative ego to creative purpose. You're no longer measuring yourself against others. You're measuring yourself against your own potential, your own vision, your own standards. And here's what's wild about this shift. It makes you infinitely more powerful. Because when you're competing, you're limited by other people's achievements. But when you're creating, you're limited only by your imagination. Most men never escape the competition trap. They spend their whole lives trying to prove they're better than someone else. But you're realizing that true power comes from being incomparable, from creating something so unique that comparison becomes meaningless. Sign 7. Your circle has shrunk massively, and you love it. Your contact list is getting shorter. Your friend group has condensed dramatically. You've gone from dozens or hundreds of connections down to maybe 3 to 5 people you genuinely trust and value. And instead of feeling isolated, you feel liberated. Instead of feeling like you're missing out, you feel like you've finally figured it out. You stopped maintaining friendships out of obligation. You stopped keeping people around because of shared history or because that's what you're supposed to do. You applied ruthless quality control to your relationships, and most people didn't make the cut. This isn't you being elitist or antisocial. This is you understanding that energy is finite and valuable. Every hour you spend with someone who doesn't add value to your life is an hour stolen from yourself or from people who actually matter. You'd rather have 3 genuine relationships than 30 fake ones. You'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who don't really know you or care about you. You figured out that loneliness doesn't come from having few friends. It comes from having fake ones. Sign 8. Conventional success. Markers don't impress you anymore. Fancy job titles? Don't care. Luxury cars? Couldn't matter less. Big house in the suburbs? That sounds like a prison. Status symbols that used to motivate you now just look like expensive ways to impress people you don't even like. You're redefining success on your own terms. Freedom matters more than wealth. Time matters more than status. Autonomy matters more than approval. You see through the illusion now. Most of what society calls success is just elaborate slavery with better benefits. The nice job with the impressive title that requires 60-hour weeks? That's not success. That's a well-decorated cage. You're starting to measure success by different metrics. How much control do you have over your time? How much freedom do you have to pursue what matters to you? How authentic is your life compared to the image you project? This recalibration is crucial, because once you stop chasing conventional success, you free yourself to pursue actual success, the kind that's measured in fulfillment, not dollars, the kind that's measured in freedom, not status. Sign 9. Being misunderstood doesn't bother you anymore. You used to explain yourself constantly. You defended your choices. You tried to make people understand your reasoning, your perspective, your values. Now, let them think whatever they want. You're completely comfortable being misunderstood, misinterpreted, or misjudged by people who don't matter. Someone thinks you're weird? Okay. Someone thinks you're making a mistake? Cool. Someone thinks you're being selfish or antisocial? Their problem, not yours. You've released the burden of being understood by everyone. You've accepted that some people simply won't get it, and that's perfectly fine. Their understanding isn't required for you to live your life. This is you becoming perception independent. You're no longer trying to control how people see you. You're no longer exhausting yourself explaining your choices to people who lack the context to understand them. And here's the bonus. Being comfortable with being misunderstood is actually powerful. It protects your energy. It maintains your mystery. It keeps superficial people at a distance while attracting the few people who actually get it. Sign 10. You're thinking in decades, not days or weeks. Your time horizon has expanded massively. You're making decisions today based on where you want to be in 10 years. You're willing to sacrifice immediate gratification for long-term outcomes. You're playing the long game while everyone else is optimizing for this quarter. You're investing in skills that take years to develop. You're building relationships that will matter a decade from now. You're making choices that won't pay off until 2030 or beyond. This is the ultimate sign of evolution. Short-term thinking is reactive and desperate. Long-term thinking is strategic and powerful. When you start thinking in decades, you stop making stupid decisions based on immediate emotions or pressures. Most people can't think past next week. They're trapped in the immediate. The urgent deadline, the current drama, the latest crisis. But you're operating on an entirely different timeline. You understand that the most powerful advantage in any game is patience. You're willing to plant seeds today that won't bear fruit for years. And that willingness, that ability to delay gratification and think long-term is what separates builders from consumers, winners from participants. Look, all these signs have something in common. You're shifting from external to internal, from reactive to intentional, from dependent to self-sufficient. You're not becoming antisocial. You're becoming selectively social. You're not becoming cold. You're becoming discerning. You're not rejecting people. You're prioritizing yourself. This evolution follows a predictable path. First, you question the mainstream. Then you start pulling away from it. Then you build your own alternative. And finally, you become so rooted in your authentic path that the mainstream becomes completely irrelevant to you. Most people never even start this journey. They live their entire lives following scripts written by others, seeking approval from people who don't matter, chasing goals they don't actually want. But not you. You're waking up. And once you start waking up, you can't go back to sleep. If you recognized 1 to 3 of these signs, you're just starting. You're questioning things, but haven't committed to a different path yet. 4 to 6 signs? You're in active transformation. You're shedding old patterns and building new ones. This phase is uncomfortable as hell, but it's where the real growth happens. 7 to 9 signs? You're in advanced evolution. You've made the major shifts. Now you're refining and optimizing your Sigma operating system. All 10? Brother, you're fully evolved. Your work now is going deeper into each practice and staying committed to this path. This evolution never stops. Even when you've fully evolved into Sigma mindset, you keep refining, optimizing, deepening. The signs I shared today are just the beginning. As you continue, you'll develop even greater clarity about your purpose, even deeper comfort with solitude, even stronger boundaries, even longer time horizons, even more selective standards for everything. The goal isn't to arrive at some final destination. It's to commit to continuous evolution toward increasingly authentic, powerful, and free versions of yourself. And here's the truth. Nobody tells you. This path gets lonely sometimes. Not because you're alone, but because fewer and fewer people understand what you're doing or why you're doing it. They'll call you selfish, cold, weird, antisocial. Let them. You're not living for their approval anymore. If you recognize most of these signs in yourself, you need to hear this. You're not becoming antisocial, depressed, or broken. You're evolving into something most people will never understand, and that's exactly the point. These changes are happening whether you fight them or embrace them. But when you recognize and embrace them, you navigate the evolution with intention instead of confusion. Trust what's happening to you. Trust the changes. Trust yourself. Drop a comment with the word evolving and tell me how many of these signs you recognized. I want to know where you are in this journey. And if this video helped you understand what's been happening to you, hit that like button and subscribe. Because I'm going to keep making content for men who are evolving past the mainstream. You're not losing yourself. You're finding yourself. And that self is more powerful than you ever imagined. Until next time, embrace your evolution.